that song that was popular a few years ago. You know, the "Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling."
Yeah.
You know, the Flow Rider song. But then, like, the first time I heard that, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that listened to them lyrics. Sometimes I get a good feeling, a feeling that I've never felt before. How can you sometimes get a feeling you've never felt before? Because the second time you get it, you felt it, so you haven't. It's.
Yeah, and then my brain's collapsing in on itself.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 11 of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by Sifted.net subscribers, where we invite community guests onto the show to talk about the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, Vin Hill, and joining me as always is, of course, my co-host and fellow Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski.
Hello.
And joining us as well is our community guest from Sifted.net, which this week it is Vhero.
Hello.
Or Vhero. Vhero?
Vhero.
Vhero, sorry.
It's not Vhero.
It's not Vhero. Okay.
I thought we already had this conversation.
God damn.
I know. My God, clarifications. But we did say, like, it's really early while we're recording right now, but, like, earlier it just, like, completely ejected.
I'll let you off because of that.
Podcast Reload, a podcast so dedicated that we're all recording at the most inopportune time in our various time zones.
Too true. Yeah, like, it's midnight where you are in Manchester, and it's way early here. It's too early for Saturday morning. I don't even... Yeah, anyway, let's move on.
Yep.
So we've actually only got one sort of correction. I don't know if it's really a correction. But last week, one of our users actually mentioned that the audio levels on the podcast was a bit weird on episode 10. I apologise for that. I think the music was really loud or the voices were lower or something. But I apologise because I had a massive cold that weekend and just... Yeah, my brain was a complete bowl of porridge, basically. It was horrible.
Yeah, I think that was... Shelburne that said that. Called that.
Shelburne. Cool. Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thanks for passing on the criticism, sort of. Well, not criticism, but the feedback, I should say, which is very welcome. Anyone else should feel free to do that if you ever encounter any problems.
Right. Well, I mean, if he wouldn't have said anything, no one would have known. So.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. All right, Vhero, we've got a question for you, man.
Cool.
The question is, you're stuck on a desert island. You can take any game with you, along with its corresponding console. What do you choose and why?
Well, the game would be probably Chrono Cross, and the reason I choose this is because it's one of them games where every time you finish it, you can't get all the characters in the first playthrough, so you have to play through it again, unlock another few characters, if that makes sense. And then, so if you want to get every single character, you have to play through it several times. And it's just one of them games where I was like, I'll play through this one day and I'll get every single character, but I never got through to it. And if I had all the time in the world, then I'd have all the time in the world to actually bleed and do it one day, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, I was kind of the same way with... it's the best thing about Chrono Trigger, like getting to the end of Chrono Trigger. It's like, I can play this again with all the same stats. You know, just that moment of just, this is amazing sort of thing. And it had multiple endings. And for RPGs to have that, I think it's really rare.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like 3 endings. I think there was like 11.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, right?
And there was the first game I saw that had a New Game Plus. I was like, what? I can do this again? Yeah,
and it affects the beginning of the game as well on your New Game Plus, which characters you actually take over into your new game, which is pretty cool.
And wasn't there one of the endings where you had to enter the New Game Plus, and then you could like immediately go to Lavos and fight him again, and you'd get a different ending?
It was like that in Chrono Trigger. You could actually early on. Yeah, really early on. Not even in New Game Plus, like you could just go there straight away, and like as soon as you get the ability to time travel sort of thing, you can go straight to the end boss and try and kill him there and then.
Yeah, I think
which might completely fuck up the timeline.
It's at the fair, right? When you go through the time travel, the transporter. Yeah, I do remember that. That was crazy.
But I'd never seen that before. It's like, I can go to the final boss now. All right, I'll try it like a fucking idiot. And then you walk up to him and he just like flicks you sort of thing and you're dead. Like the whole team's out. It's like, oh, okay, maybe I should come back here later. But the whole idea of it was kind of interesting, you know?
And I think, the Chrono Cross is a pretty cool one as well, Vhero, because it's like Suikoden, or at least 2. I've only played 2, where there's some you have to do specific things in a specific order to recruit some characters. So if you miss that little window, then you're done. If you saved your game, you cannot recruit that character. So yeah, you could definitely, if you didn't have a strategy guide in front of you, you would have to play that game numerous times to figure out how to get some of the characters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's nice when I come across people that are just, have almost the balls to say, yeah, I like Chrono Cross better than Chrono Trigger, because there's so many Trigger fans out there. Like it's nice to hear that.
That was the infamous GameSpot 10 out of 10. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Good times.
There's actually on one of the episodes of The Lobby, if anyone can find it, when they talk about the 10 out of 10s they've given, Jeff Gerstmann goes on and he talks about the freelancer that reviewed Chrono Cross. He basically, I don't know if he called him in or he talked to him, and he was like, you got to tell me why this game's a 10 out of 10. And he goes into the process like he was trying to poke holes in this guy's argument because he didn't believe that the game was a 10 out of 10. Really interesting talk, and he talks about that game.
Yeah, I think I heard about that, and in the end, like the freelancer sort of convinces him, right? And he actually put it through. It's 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah, and then
I can't remember the full story.
Everyone regretted it apparently, but anyways,
yeah,
it's a great. I think it's a great game.
Most journalists regret giving a 10, even if it's an amazing game.
Sure.
Like even if Uncharted 2 had a 10. And there'll be journalists out there right now that would give Uncharted 2 a 10 and regret it, because they're comparing it to other games that are now coming out. But you got to look at it as like, at the time, it was great. Yeah. At the time, it was a 10.
But then it becomes the benchmark.
Right.
True. But at the same time, like, you've got to... It's like, to me, Final Fantasy 9 is a 10 for me. But, like, if I compared that to the graphics and the gameplay mechanics of Final Fantasy 15, it's not a 10, obviously. Like, it's completely different. But right. I think you've got to compartmentalize it. So, yeah. I still believe that Chrono Cross could be a 10,
Yeah, it's like, Game Informer, you gave Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 a 10, but you gave Dead Space 3 a 9.75. So it's like, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's
you just go into this really weird hole. It's not worth it.
Yeah, now you're in this room, right?
Yeah.
God, it's awful. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to move on to our usual shenanigans of what we've been playing this week. So we'll start off with you, Evan. What have you been playing this week, man?
Well, as per usual, I've been playing the latest and greatest games from... I don't know, from wherever. No, actually, yesterday, just beat Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I don't even know if it's called Donkey Kong Country. Maybe just Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. But anyways... played it most of this week, and I will say that game is pretty fucking difficult. Like it's definitely not monkeying around, if you know what I mean.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so it's good. Like it's classic. It reminded me of Donkey Kong Country on the Super NES, but one of my issues with the game is most of the game consists of death traps, and what I mean by that is I think there's actually more negative space in the levels than there are actual like ground and platforms to jump on.
Right. I remember Donkey Kong Country being like that with like the barrels and stuff. Like if you missed like a certain but thinking by it now, I think Donkey Kong Country was quite difficult at the time.
I think it is, and I think just the type of person I am now as a gamer, like I don't have as much patience as I used to because of checkpoints and like difficulty modes and stuff like that, to where when you get through a really, really rough part of platforming where you like precision jumps and bouncing on stuff and stuff's platforms are crumbling and stuff like that, and you die and it takes you all the way back to the beginning, you're like, what? That can't happen. But that's how games used to be.
Yeah, you're right.
But I haven't seen a game troll as hard as this game does in like quite some time. Like most levels have scrolling sections or like moving parts and platforms and crumbling one-time safety net platforms, or like a combination of all of those. So you're like consistently moving from one thing to another, but then the game constantly pulls the rug from under your feet with like some cheeky platform that crumbles or disappears when you least expect it. And then once that happens, you're back to the start. It doesn't matter if you have all your lives and stuff. So I will say, like, it's trial and error, but in the worst kind of way, because the game rarely gives you a chance to react to like unexpected things.
Right.
So if you don't master the levels, then you that's what it tries to do. It tries to make you master the levels, basically.
Right. So like as I almost broke the gamepad last night on the last boss. It got that rough for me. But I will say, yeah, like Vhero, when you're saying it's like it. What I tried to do is realize like this is old school like platforming. This is what Donkey Kong Country was on the Super Nintendo, and I just had to kind of like remind myself of that while I was playing it. And now that I beat it, like I really do like the game, and I actually kind of applaud it for being so difficult in an age when like most Nintendo games are really really easy. Right. So there's that. But there's actually a secret world, and I gotta like go back to all the islands and collect a relic in each island to get there. So I'll probably do that today. Yeah, really difficult game, but it was good.
Cool. How about you, Vhero? What have you been playing?
I've been playing a JRPG, funnily enough. Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, yeah. I didn't hear about this. No, the first time I heard about this game is when Kyle Bossman was on the Co-optional podcast, because when he was in between game trailers and Easy Allies, he said that's what he was occupying his time with. And he said he enjoyed it. How about you? Yeah,
I'm enjoying it. It's not exactly a Pokemon clone, but it's a bit of a throwback to classic JRPGs. I got that sense what I used to get when I used to play classic JRPGs. It's got some of them old active time battle systems with a bit of isometric views in there, so it is a bit of a throwback to classic JRPGs in that sense. And you do have the collect. You can collect Digimon in the way that if you fight a certain Digimon a certain amount of times, then you've learnt his data, and then you can actually hatch him from an egg, and then you can evolve him, and then you can get him up to the maximum level and things like that. But the battle system is very, very basic. It does have they do try and put stuff in there like poison and stuff like that, but you can just power through most enemies on there. So, but I am enjoying it, to be fair. But I find like I got stuck on a mission and the game didn't tell me. It just didn't tell me where to go or anything like that. I had to go online to look at what to do because I was completely stuck. So it's not very good at giving you information of what to do, which is I found frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's a Japanese thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Very well might be. Is there any story in the game? I mean, like Pokemon, it's like gym leaders and that's about it.
Yeah, there's a story. Basically, you get attacked by this unknown thing at the beginning, and which you don't know anything about, and your body's you're like out of your body. You're like a spirit, but you're not. You're made of digital data, and your body's in like a coma, and you're trying to find the monster that basically did this to you, so you can hopefully wake up your body. And it's happened to all these other people, and this evil corporation supposedly doing it, or something along the lines. At the moment, I'm trying to find out the entire story.
Sounds pretty dark for a Digimon game, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played a Digimon game since Digimon World on the PlayStation 1, so that's going back, but
it's very similar. It's very similar to Digimon World.
Yeah, I've heard like the formula hasn't really changed that much, which is a good thing. I think there's not enough games that sort of give that nod back to old Japanese RPGs, like you said.
All right. So, what about you, Vin? Have you been playing Digimon World on the PlayStation 1?
Yes, I had. No, I haven't. I apologize to any fans out there. No, this week I've actually been playing a lot of Bloodborne, which is really weird because I completely abandoned that game. But after seeing Brent's like coaching sessions which he's been having with his friend, it really inspired me to go back and actually just like give the game a second chance sort of thing. And I got past the point and then some, like where I got stuck last time, because the game, like at the very start of the game, like the economy of the game is very poorly designed, I should say, where they don't give you enough health potions and they don't give you enough bullets. But once you hit past a certain point, they just throw this stuff at you all the time, so you don't need to go and farm for it anymore. So it's really inconsistent in that. But once like I got past that point where I was getting the supplies which I just needed to play the game normally, then the frustration sort of went out the window, and like the challenge sort of opened up.
Have you hit that point where you're like, all right, this game I'm bowling through it, I'm gonna finish it?
I think I'm definitely like gonna finish it this time. But at the same time, like I still see the same problems which occur, like the just how the game feels and how it reacts, and just the reaction times of like when you hit a button. Sometimes you have to finish an animation before like that button sort of command actually kicks in.
That is a very
So
Japanese thing. I will say
it's annoying as hell. So like if I'm swinging my sword in like a Western game, like if you accidentally hit like L2 or something, you're doing like a big sword swing, like that takes so long to actually do that you have to like preempt them attacking you, sort of thing. It's like, are they going to attack me? So I have no idea, but let's try it anyway. So like by the time he's actually finished the sword swing, the guy's already attacking, and that's when you need to get it like the right timing. But at the same time, if you're halfway through the sword swing and you see that they're probably going to hit you first, your automatic reaction is to like roll out the way. But when you do that, he has to finish the sword swing, which is really fucking slow. It hits the floor and then he rolls out the way, which is really, it's unnatural to me, like the feeling of it. But yeah, you have to sort of get used to it. But there's a lot of Souls fans out there like, no, that's the best thing, man. You have to learn the game. It's
right.
Like, fuck you, man.
All right,
like,
let me say, I said it was a Japanese thing. That's not what I meant. It's a very typical thing of Japanese games where there's a lot of canned animations, is what I meant.
Yeah. But yeah, there's not actually like Japanese people that have to walk around and finish animations.
It's like, oh god, so Japanese of you. Yeah, that's not what I meant.
We'll move on to our topics of the week, obviously, which is the small three. In the small three, we can each pick a topic. It can be absolutely anything that we want. It can be a game that we're excited about. It could be non-topical. It can be something about the industry, a game that we hate. It can be a review of a game. It can be absolutely anything that we want. So in traditional sense, we're going to start off with our guest, which is Vhero this week. Do you want to talk about your topic of the small three?
Yeah, so my topic that I'm wanting to bring up to you guys basically is about graphics in modern gaming. So if you think graphics are ruining gaming experiences, what I mean by that is graphics are coming along, obviously with newer technologies moving at a blistering pace, but is it a good thing? So my questions I'm going to ask is, with games coming more realistic these days, do you think they are taking the fun out of games? Does a good game really need great graphics, or does the truly top games get them both right? And what I mean by that, basically, I was playing The Division the other week, and we was getting through it, and we did a mission, no problem. But when I went to play the mission the second time, the Snowdrop engine is absolutely fantastic. They've done great. I mean, the game's glitchy, really glitchy, but that's not what I'm getting onto. It was heavy snow in the game, and I couldn't see a damn thing. I was shooting, I couldn't see an enemy for Toffee, and the problem with that is the AI, it doesn't matter for the AI, they can see you perfectly. It doesn't affect the AI's aim one bit, but if you can't see the AI, for me, it ruins a little bit of the game. I mean, I get the whole realism, and you're not supposed to be able to see the AI, but that snow keeps coming down in the middle of a mission, and it's coming down for about 20 minutes, and I can't see a single enemy around me anywhere, so I've got a really nice sniper vantage point, but for me, I'm just then sat there for a long time waiting for an enemy to just pop out of the snow, if that makes sense. And
no, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been sat there in my little crow's nest before, and like I'm like, yeah, fucking finally, we're gonna take these guys out. It's gonna be awesome. Right? You guys ready? Yeah, we're ready. Oh, okay, cool. And the snow comes in. You're like, fuck, can't see. It's like you have to change your whole tactic.
Yeah, years ago we didn't have this because graphics hadn't moved along fast enough, so we didn't have these cool snow effects and everything. So what my point I'm trying to get across is, graphics now are great and everything, but are they getting in the way of a good gaming session? Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at.
I think in terms of that snow stuff, that might be an issue of just because developers they're like putting in more stuff, packing in more stuff in a game. Because like, a snowstorm in New York, man, these effects look awesome, let's do it. Whether or not, it's fun or not. Like, I don't know, I'll throw this to you first, Vin. Like, how did you feel about that stuff?
I think it's a multitude of things. I think it's good to experiment with that stuff. I think they have to put this into games to get player feedback, like Vhero said, just so they can see for the future. Is it, because it is really cool. Like if weather works correctly to the point that it's not a detriment on design and gameplay, then I think it can be cool. Like, it's really cool, obviously. Like, we want games to look better, but as long as they're not getting in the way of the game. But I think we're sort of going through this weird time in the industry right now where there's all these new engines that are coming out and they're freely available to people and everyone's trying new things. So it's sort of like an age of experimentation because we're not as restricted as we once were on the PlayStation 1. Like if you look at Silent Hill, like the original Silent Hill game, the only reason why there is fog in that game and why there is fog in that story whatsoever is because the draw distances were so bad on Silent Hill that they had to put the fog in. That's why it's there. It's like the opposite sort of thing. They had to put the fog in, So it's like we've gotten to this point now where we can pretty much do anything that we want, like to whatever graphical fidelity. So we're trying out a lot of stuff, sort of thing, And I think fog thing and weather effects is definitely a part of that.
Yeah, and I think that stuff it's cool, right? But I think like you said, like if it's a detriment to the game, then maybe don't really put it in.
Yeah. It's like playing Battlefield sometimes, just seeing like lens flares hit you in the face. It's like not too long ago I was playing Battlefield 3, I think. I was playing Battlefield 3 on the PlayStation. And I was running towards like a group of guys that was shooting at me. But the direction of where I was running, I was actually running at the sun, and the sun was physically in my eyes, and I couldn't actually see. Because like in Battlefield, when you're affected by sunlight, like your screen brightens up or darkens down or whatever, it's not like just direct shadow and light sort of thing. It's like it actually blinds you, and I couldn't see, and we kept spawning on one side of the map, and we were just getting slaughtered because the sun was literally in our eyes. It was ridiculous. It was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, did no one see this when they put it in the game? But it's a similar sort of thing, right?
Right. And I think like there's always going to be games like back in the day, Far Cry. Remember the draw distance in the first one?
Oh yeah,
I couldn't believe it. And then like the Crysis series, or just look at Uncharted 4 coming out. Games that are just going to push graphics to their limits, or always be in the forefront of that thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Where when you have those games, you have stuff on the other end of the spectrum. But one thing that I'm more interested in rather than that type of graphical fidelity are little things. Like, do you remember in the very first time The Division was shown at E3 where a guy's behind a car, and as he's moving, he kind of he pushes the door in? Yeah, that type of thing. Those types of little extra animations and just really, really interesting things they're doing that you wouldn't necessarily think about when designing a game, but just seeing that makes the world more realistic or more realized.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like the small things for me is what makes a good game.
Yeah.
Like the big extravaganzas or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. But like in the Division, because we have to, like I work in Snowdrop every single day. That's the engine that we're using, and just some of the things that engine can do is ridiculous. Like if you shoot, like in a Division, if you shoot like a sign, like it puts a dent in the sign in the front of it. But if you go around the other side of the sign, it's actually got a completely different decal on the other side, and it's like a dent outwards sort of thing. So it's actually like the bullets hit it.
That's crazy.
And it's like there's a load of stuff like that you don't even see, and that's really cool. I really like that stuff, and it's cool that we're experimenting more and more with that. But
right,
there is the opposite side of the fog of war sort of thing, like completely destroying the game. And especially when it's uncontrollable, right? Like you can't just ignore it or whatever. You can't go into another area where the fog isn't there. It sort of sucks. But how about you, Vhero? Like, what do you think? Like, do you think graphics are sort of bogging down games at all, like outside of the Division, or is it just one special case?
No, that's my main case. But I mean, I look at the sports games, for example. The most fun I've had on sports games, especially I like to play a lot of the, especially it's a bit weird because I live in England, but I do like to play the NHL games, and the best experiences I've ever had on them were the old top-down view, the isometric view on those games.
Oh yeah.
Since they've gone 3D, they're just, it's not the gameplay that I have an issue with. I think it is because they've tried to go more modern, and I don't know if it's just the graphics on there, but because they've gone more modern with that game and tried to make it more realistic, now they've taken a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, when I play, like if play FIFA, like these days, there's like 5 different buttons to pass a ball, man. I'm just like, what? Like, why? There's no, like, there should be one button for pass, one button for shoot. It's just, it's too complicated. It's the same thing with when I played a game called Skate on the 360. A lot of people got into that game because it was a lot more realistic, but I was so used to like Tony Hawk's where you could just one button for a kickflip, one button for a grab, one button for a grind,
like
one button for an ollie.
If you pulled off a kickflip in that game, you felt like a king. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's the appeal behind it, though, right? As well, like if you are playing FIFA or you are playing like the new I can't even get my words out. The new hockey game, fucking hell. If you can pull off a goal, then it feels good. It feels really, really good compared to like pulling off a goal on the Super Nintendo originally.
Yeah. I mean, my friend used to love the Skates games, but because he was an actual skater and he was always out on his board, and I used to love the Tony Hawks because I preferred the simplicity to the Tony Hawks, and I used to spend hours playing on that. Even my wife used to play those games because it was so much simpler, and she used to have loads of fun on that. She still says Tony Hawk's 3 is her favourite game of all time. So
same, yeah, good pick. That's my favourite Tony Hawk. Yeah, I think it's more down to like, I don't know if it's graphics or realism or like simulator or whatever. It's like for some games it works fine. Like driving games, like the more the graphics look on them, probably the better the game.
Right.
Because they've been trying to push that level of realism for a long time. But for games like The Division, like it can be a detriment, because it's just like, oh fucking hell, the fog's coming in. Oh, it's snowstorm.
Yeah. So perhaps then my question should have been realism rather than graphics. No,
it's still a valid question. I mean. It's like that Battlefield 3 example, like the sun physically being in my eyes, and it's like, all right. I think there should be a level where, the game should be playable in all senses, but if the art ever gets in the way of the actual gameplay, then that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences on Battlefield as what you've had, to be fair, with the lens flare, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know, it's an interesting one. Like, how about you, Evan? Like, have you run into any instances where graphics have gotten in the way?
Well, I haven't played a new game in quite a while.
How's the Wii U treating you? Any
actually the fur
any
on
ice cubes on Travel?
The fur on Donkey Kong is so realistic; it's actually kind of distracting.
There you go.
Recently, no. Nothing I can really think of. I'm just trying to think of. Nothing that's really gotten in the way. One thing that this reminded me of is old school, some old Nintendo games where, with sprites. So most games, there's only one animation between standing and crouching. Right, on an NES game, and I remember Wolverine. For the NES, there was like, I believe, 2 or 3 extra animations in between his standing sprite and his crouching sprite, and that really got in the way. And although it looked really, really cool, it really got in the way because if a projectile was coming at you, it took that extra half second for you to actually crouch because of those extra animations, and it was so distracting and made the game so much harder, where they were probably like, this looks great. Like, this is the smoothest looking sprite you're ever going to see. And it actually got in the way of the experience of the game.
Yeah, no, I think they do that a lot as well. Like anyone in the games industry, they sort of, like designers wise, it's about feeling that balance between being too realistic and being playable and fun. Like you're constantly battling with that, all the time. It's like in The Last of Us, they were when they were working on the combat mechanics. When Joel actually hits something, like with a punch.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, like his hand goes from like behind him forward and then like contact sort of thing. But in The Last of Us, they actually made it so it goes from behind him and then it snaps to whatever he's hitting, like in one frame. It's just like one sort of really quick motion. But because like it happens so quickly, your brain sort of fills it in and it feels good like to play.
Right.
Because like the second that you hit that button, the contact hits, and they sort of know that balance. Even in like a quite a realistic game as The Last of Us, they even knew there's points where the game gets too realistic, especially in graphics. Like if you technically it's accurate for Joel to like swing all the way through him, like, and then like the hit But it just doesn't feel good. So, they made that decision, which was really clever. And I think a lot of other games companies out there need to take that in their games as well. They need to sit there and think, is this a detriment, or should we just, make the game fun? Because that is rule number one when you're making a game. It has to be fun before it looks pretty.
Right.
If it looks pretty before it's fun, then that's when you start running into these problems, I think.
So that balance is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's key. It's just finding the fun is the hardest thing about games. And the worst thing about it as well, 9 times out of 10, the game isn't fun until about 95% into production, which is scary as hell.
It really is. Well.
It's horrible.
All right, did we get it right, guys? Let's check.
Yeah. It's like in the I don't know if you watched the Grounded documentary from The Last of Us, but they didn't find the quote unquote the fun until I think it was 3 weeks before they went gold.
Huh. Wow.
I didn't see nothing really connected. But until them 3 weeks before, it's all right, fuck, finally, okay, we've got the game. It's fun now. That's why sequels are so popular as well, because they find that balance between, is the game fun and is the graphics getting in the way? Is it, all these problems that they hit in the design? If you can find that in the first game, then they know they've already got that problem solved for the second game. And that's 9 out of 10 of the reasons why they actually make sequels. It's not because they can reuse assets and stuff. Most of it is because of the design. They know what's fun about the first game, so the second game can be perfected on, sort of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, but do you really think that the top games need both good graphics and good gameplay, or do you think a really low graphic game can actually survive?
I think indies have proved that you don't need great graphics anymore to make a great game. I mean, look at some of the best games and the highly rated games over the last few years. I mean, look at Binding of Isaac, for example. That's been rated as one of the best games that you can buy right now.
I was going to say, Undertale is getting mad reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I still haven't played that game, but if you look at it, it's oh my god, it looks like horse shit. But apparently everyone's loving it. It's one of the greatest RPGs over the past 5 years, I've heard some people say.
Yeah, I mean, for games that I don't get, and by don't get, I'm not interested in playing.
Right.
I'm glad to see a game like Minecraft become so popular, and even in Japan, because you see a younger generation of kids that they're not looking at these low poly games and saying oh, this sucks. They actually they like it, and even in 2016, I think that's cool that they're used to these type of indie games and low poly games, and they see them for the experiences, not necessarily for whether or not they have good graphics or not.
Yeah, definitely. But I think there is room for good graphics and good gameplay, obviously. Look at Uncharted 4 that's coming out next week. I mean, that looks like the greatest game. Graphically, it looks like one of the best games ever made, gameplay-wise, I don't know yet. I haven't played it. But, even on, compared to PC games and stuff, there's all these PC guys no, the graphics will never be as good as the PC. It's well, look at Uncharted 4. Shut up. It's just, frame rate. Frame rate might be 30, but fuck you guys. Yeah. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Well, maybe if they didn't shove in a multiplayer aspect to the game, that it could have looked even better.
Nah, I don't know. I'm happy with the way it looks, man. I am happy. But yeah, moving on. Speaking of multiplayer games and competitiveness, Evan, what is your topic of this week, man?
Okay, so my topic for this week is competitive multiplayer versus single player. And, since the days of Pong, PvP and just competition in general has always been a part of gaming. But, in the age of the internet, the success and popularity of online gaming has given birth to new genres like MOBAs, and things like that only stand to prove that competitive multiplayer is not only a strong genre or a style of play, but it's thriving. It's one of the most popular, I would argue. But there's one problem. People like me, because I don't like competitive multiplayer. I don't get it.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. It's not for me. Maybe at some point it will be. I kind of wanted to bring this up to see if you guys can convince me, or just let's go through the questions here. So I'll toss it off to Vhero. Do you play any competitive multiplayer games? And if so, what games?
To be fair, I don't play many competitive games, multiplayer games. I probably only say Battlefield is possibly the only one I play in competitive. I do prefer co-op against AI.
Okay.
Mostly over competitive. I'm the same in the sense of yourself, because I used to love a good old split screen time splitters. That was my old, in the sense, and when it came to games like first person shooters and things like that. But
Right.
I'm not really a competitive multiplayer myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay. But so what Battlefield like have you played in the past or are still playing?
I've played Battlefield 2. I can't remember the futuristic one. I always forget the name of that one.
2142.
Yeah, that's the one. For 4,
Maybe.
and I played
I don't know.
3, 4, Bad Company 1, 2, and I've also played I've got the most recent one as well. I keep forgetting the name of
Jesus.
that. Yeah,
Hardline. Yeah, you're well
Hardline.
into it then.
Yeah, I played Hardline. I played that for about a month after release, and then I've not touched it since, to be fair. So
Okay.
that's
All right,
probably the
so-
last competitive multiplayer I've played.
Okay, so then it doesn't seem like you're much of a competitive multiplayer gamer, but what about those games makes it enticing to you? Is it like the gameplay, or I don't, like what
I think
what
it's
about
the
it?
cooperative side of it, though, because I mean, I do like to work as a team. I get a few friends on, we work together, so it's the co-op sense of that against another team, if that makes sense. So I'm working
Okay,
as a
yeah,
team
yeah.
with some friends.
No, I totally get that because I will like Gears of War 2. Like I played that with my brother start to finish, this is a totally different thing. But I like cooperative games. I don't like competitive multiplayer stuff.
You're just a pacifist, that's all, right?
Yeah, well, before I
Gaming pacifist.
before I throw it to Vin, like I can tell this is totally just who I am. Like whereas my friends were, playing football, and by football I mean soccer, or any type of team sport. Like I was always like, okay, I'm gonna do weight training, or I'm gonna do rock climbing, or I'm gonna do cross country. Like I like the idea of challenging myself. Like I'll play a single player game on hard and lose my shit, trying to get through a section. But it's like I like that experience by myself. I don't like being competitive towards other people. That's why I don't play fighting games. I'll watch
Yeah.
my friends play them, but I'm just not interested in doing it myself. I don't know. I don't have that competitive spirit.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So okay,
the same.
like, Vin, what about you? What competitive multiplayer games do you play?
I mean, I play a lot of like first person shooters. I'm not gonna lie, and I played a lot of them online to try them out. And I think it's just one of them things. Like if you got into it, like when you were younger, then it's sort of got embedded inside of you, sort of thing. And it's like if you were to take someone now at like 25 years old or something, you say, okay, you've never played an FPS, right? And they're like, nope, never played an FPS. You sat them down, you put them on a game of Call of Duty, they get wrecked within 5 minutes. They'll never want to play a competitive multiplayer game ever again.
Right.
But if they grew up with them, then I think it's sort of a different thing, Like I grew up with a lot of FPS games. I was playing Counter-Strike, I was playing Half-Life 2, like Deathmatch. I was playing all of these like online games, and then when Halo came out and the console sort of FPS exploded, that was it was a good time for FPS fans. Like we had Halo, we had Call of Duty 4, and Call of Duty World at War came out, and they did really well. It was a good time, and I think a lot of that is down to what Vhero was saying about teamwork. Like a lot of them games back then were down to teamwork. If you had a bad team, you would die. It's just that simple. Like you would just have a horrible time. And Call of Duty 4 was probably the first game which introduced the idea of going lone wolf a lot of the time.
Okay.
And just having this thing where you're, okay, I'm going to jump into this map by myself without any of my friends, and then running around and like hiding in corners or whatever, like whatever tactics you use, that's fine. But the games sort of companies started listening to that, and they started seeing that people were playing by themselves. So them thinking about that, like, okay, how can we make it better for those people because they're buying it more than the people that are playing in teams. And how they do that is just by upping the damage or lowering the defense of the characters or whatever. So now it's turned into this whole sort of Twitch shooter thing that's happening right now, where one bullet and you're dead with most guns. So there's no balance to the weapons, there's no character to the weapons. Like the maps are they're getting smaller and smaller so people can kill each other faster and faster, so they can respawn faster, and they can it's just chaos basically. There's not as much teamwork, and I think that's the most unattractive thing to guys like yourself, where you just don't get it. It's like, why would you want to do that? Why would you just want to die over and over again, right? I think that's the sort of thing.
Yeah, and another thing that it's just not very interesting to me is just the idea of, like, I'm a single player story driven kind of guy. Like, I want to go from A to B. We talked about this on the last I think the last show. You said something like, I want to see credits. If the game doesn't have credits,
yeah,
like I'm not interested. And I'm kind of like that because I need something like a carrot on the end of the stick to try to push me forward, whether that be the story or other things. And like, I don't get, so like competitive multiplayer to me is like, okay, and this is someone who doesn't play it, so this will probably be completely ridiculous and off point, but okay, you log on, all right, you're looking at I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Go for it.
You're in a lobby, all right, get some friends together. Okay, let's pick a map, all right? Always the same fucking map, right? Because why play a different map? You know it in and out at this point. All right, here, okay, got my team, got your team versus team. All right, let's pick all right, I'm going to get my handgun and get that rifle. And okay, and then all right, the counter's going. You got 30 seconds. All right, let's play. Oh no, wait, you got to choose something. Let's capture the flag, whatever. First to 5, first to 10,
this
first
is
to 20.
The worst analogy in FPS I've ever heard.
Okay, let's do it first to 10, right? Okay, 5 on 5, first to 10. All right, counter's going down. All right, spawn. You just run around and shoot each other, and then you win or you lose, and it's like, okay, let's just do that again. Same fucking.
I think what, like, I wouldn't really say a problem, because obviously you're entitled to that sort of like vision of it, but I think you're looking at it a bit too broadly.
Well, I think I'm looking at it
the
very
whole experience.
That whole explanation was very reductive.
No, well, I mean, it's a good analogy to have, though. I mean, you've looked at the whole experience of, like, of your play session sort of thing. Like, if you look at a play session of like Uncharted or whatever, you look at, okay, I did this with Nate, and this happened, and then this happened. And, like, you can physically remember stuff happening, right? So, like, you get your quote unquote money's worth. But with an FPS, you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But that's the part which makes it fun a lot of the time. Like Battlefield 3 did something very clever. No, I think it might have been Bad Company 2 actually, but they coined like the phrase Battlefield moments, and it sort of goes for every FPS really. Well, they used to. It's not too prevalent right now, but they have these moments where you're working together with your team and something awesome happens. It's like I was playing Battlefield Bad Company 2 with one of my good friends from the UK, and we were running alongside each other. He was like, "Oh, stay here," and I was like, "Why? What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'll be back in a minute." And he ran into the objective building and just threw like a load of C4 in there, and then he ran back out. He's like, "All right, come around the corner with me," and we both just sat there and like watching all these guys pile in. And he just like pulls the trigger, and this whole building just dum, 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 just like falls down. It's just like kill, and it was just like one of the moments where I'll always remember that, but you can't. And it was like a teamwork moment, and you're working together to get to that. And like when you're working in a group of 5 or whatever, and like you all pull like a perfect flank, and you like pincer attack them, and you take the whole team out. Like just moments like that makes you feel really good, and they're the moments that you're after when you're playing like a competitive shooter.
Right.
But you don't get that so much when you're playing by yourself a lot of the time.
Right. And if you're like me looking at the skeleton of the game, you're not going to see that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest point. That's the ultimate goal. You're constantly looking for them moments when you're playing FPS games. You're not looking at this is my favorite map, this is my favorite gun, I like killing dudes. I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah.
And because I don't think like that.
Like to some extent, I do get competitive multiplayer because back in the day, all my friends and I would do is play GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. GoldenEye, the facility. And that game had those moments, and it's basically what it is now. Like that feeling of like, well, I mean, that wasn't really competitive. Well, not competitive. It wasn't co-op. It wasn't, you weren't on teams. It was, everyone for themselves. But, that type of thing, like knowing a level in and out, jumping back up into events to hide, or, surprising your friend by, throwing, attaching C4 to the door and watching him think he has you and then blowing him up. Like that type of stuff what made those games so fun. So I kind of get that, but I don't know. I think I'm just at a place where it's really difficult for me to not look at the skeleton of the game and just say, I don't get the idea of playing the same map over and over.
The weirdest thing to me is just like how popular it's become. Like with this whole notion of, like they've sort of, a lot of these FPS games have stripped out the teamwork bit, which doesn't make any sense to me because that's the whole point of playing competitive shooters. And just stripping that out and saying, okay, everyone's lone wolf, everyone's got really high damage. I don't understand why that's become so popular.
Yeah, that's why I don't get why COD is so popular, because that's the worst of them all. That's literally, you're dead within 5 seconds on most maps. It's
and that's
mental, that game.
That's great. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they're making the shift, because you have people like Vhero who have some interest in it, but you're taking out the part that interests a lot of people. That whole cooperative part of it.
See, that's what I like about the Battlefield games and more compared to the COD, because you have to work your way up to the objective. You start on one side of the map and the objective, and the Battlefield maps are absolutely huge compared to the COD maps, which are more like kill boxes, like Vin Hill was explaining before, which is why I like them a lot.
No, you're right. I mean, like, I think some of the most popular maps on Call of Duty 4 was just one map where you're sat in a crate, It's like this crate little box thing, and like guys were just running at each other, and it was like the smallest space in human history, and it was like 10 versus 10 or whatever, and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. It was one of the worst maps in the world, but everyone loved it, and I have no reason understanding why they did like it. Like as a multiplayer sort of co-op experience, I don't get it.
Right. Okay. I guess this topic is more about like competitive multiplayer, yay or nay. But okay, so to wrap this up, like Vhero, do you see this dynamic between competitive multiplayer getting more popular, or single player? Do you see this changing in the future? One being more popular than the other, one going away?
No, I don't see them changing at all. I see competitive multiplayer getting more popular, especially with esports nowadays, especially because that's growing all the time now as well.
Right. Yeah. Talk about something I don't get.
I don't get esports either. I think it's just silly.
I don't understand it.
I think it's just.
So why would you watch it when you can play it?
Yeah. I think it's companies looking about how they can make even more money out of it, because sponsorships and everything like that, and they can find a way to make money. They will do.
Yeah, I suppose that's why it is getting more popular, though. Like, just the amount of coverage that is following it, on that sort of, like, the esports and YouTube as well. That's probably, because you want to see the trick shot sort of thing. You want to see the ridiculous guy climbing up halfway up a ladder and doing, like, a 720 and then sniping someone in the face, no scope or whatever,
Right. No, I guess
like kids like that.
Yeah,
so,
I guess that goes back to what you were saying, Vin, is, like, they get to be part of those moments by watching it.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, I guess.
I guess so. All right. Okay, so to wrap up, I just wanted to just to tickle my interest. That's not a phrase anyone uses.
Tickle my interest.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
just to tickle my interest. If you had to pick one, competitive multiplayer or single player, which would you keep? And
Vhero. You're gonna have to answer this one first, man.
It's single player all the way for me, because I'm a JRPG player, as you know, so it's
right.
Single player anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I would pick. Yeah, I'm a single player kind of guy. Vin, you're the.
I don't know, man. It's tough.
We can.
It depends on the game. That's the thing, It's really difficult. But yeah, I'll probably have to go single player as well. But I do really enjoy like multiplayer, just because it's like Shane says on Game Face. Like when you've got like an extra half an hour or something, you can do a quick game of like Battlefield or whatever, and it's totally doable. But like you don't sit down for half an hour and play an Uncharted game,
Sure.
Single player doesn't work all the time.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So it's just, Yeah, it depends on the moment in the game.
Right. Well, competitive multiplayer here to stay, for better
Yeah,
or for
definitely.
worse.
Probably the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, moving on. We'll move on to my topic, which is sort of in line with what we've just been talking about. I apologize, like we're going to be talking a lot about FPSs today. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about like this year and FPSs. Like we've had a lot of announcements this week already. We've obviously had Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and Battlefield 5 was just announced today, actually, which is set in World War One. But I just sort of want to talk about like the variety of games that we're getting this year. You know, like even in single player, not just strictly talking about multiplayer, obviously, because there are some really good single player FPSs coming out as well. But it sort of feels like there's this massive like comeback coming for like FPSs, you know. And I don't know, like you, Evan, like as a non sort of multiplayer guy, are you excited for like any FPS games, single player, like coming out this year?
Actually, I am. So you can take Battlefield, Call of Duty, Battleborn, and Overwatch and throw them out the
Shove it
window.
up your ass.
Because I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't care. But but I am an FPS fan. So when I say single player, I'm not trashing FPS games. I really like FPS games. I play a lot of them. I'm really looking forward to Doom, Shadow Warrior 2, because it reminds me of Dishonored, and Dishonored is one of my favorite games of all time. And probably the game I'm looking most forward to is Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Oh yeah,
because
that is a good one. I forgot about that. That is out this year,
Forgot
right?
about that game as well.
Because Human Revolution, like I played that game way late, like 2 years after it came out, and in the beginning had a bit of trouble with it, but I absolutely love that game. You could argue whether or not it's a first-person shooter, but that's like being pedantic. It is a first-person shooter. But yeah, Doom, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, and Shadow Warrior 2. Looking forward to all those games. How about you, Vhero? Any FPSs you're looking forward to?
Probably Battlefield. That's
it's gonna be up there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's possibly the only one I can think of off the top of my head, if I'm honest. I tried the Doom beta. I wasn't very impressed with the Doom beta. It's not like the old school Doom. You don't pick up the rockets, for example. It's just all fast fire and there's no reloading or anything like that, and it didn't pick up with me, if that makes sense.
Well, like the whole thing about Doom is if it feels like Doom, right? That's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like Doom. They tried to go a little bit back to the old times. I mean, it was very fast-paced in the sense, but you could tell that it's tried to take some stuff from the modern shooters. And I guess why they've done that is because they're trying to get some of these modern shooter buyers to buy the game. Sure. But for me, then, as an old-school Doom fan, it didn't resonate to me at all.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, you know, all these older style of games coming back recently. Like, obviously, we had Wolfenstein last year, and now we're getting Doom.
I'm really interested. Have you guys played the Wolfenstein game? It seems like they're single player, taking it back old school, not giving into, like, some newer concepts found in lots of more recent FPS games. Have you guys played, or Vin, have you played Wolfenstein?
Yeah, I played it. It's very weird, because you are right. Like it feels a lot more like an older game. Like if you compare it to like a contemporary game, like if you play Call of Duty and then you played Wolfenstein right afterwards, like you automatically notice the things which are like, oh my god, like this is in there. Like you have to pick up ammo, like using a bullet, like using a button. You know, you have to hit X to pick up ammo and stuff, and there's like health packs and stuff. It's just weird, you know.
Right.
But is that a good thing? I don't know. Like, it depends what sort of game you are, I suppose. Like, how about you, Vhero? Did you play that one?
Yeah, I played that one. I found that game very difficult. I don't know if it was supposed to be like that. And like you said, it might have been because of the health packs and stuff. And because we've moved along in the times, I'd just not got you. I was used to that, and now I'm not now. So that might have been why I found it more difficult.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, just like because you gain like these instincts as you play more and more FPS games, like, for the longest time after playing Battlefield and Call of Duty, I was constantly like trying to aim down sights. Like the next time I tried to play Halo or something, I was like, "Why can't you aim down?" Oh yeah, shit, you can't. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
it's just
and regenerating health and stuff like that. And
yeah, that's one reason I like the Resistance
it, right?
games. They're like no regenerating health. You pick up health packs.
Yeah.
That's just
I mean,
me though.
sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, you know?
That's
Like,
true.
it depends on the game, I guess. Like, if you're playing Battlefield and you had to pick up health packs, oh my god, that'd be horrible. That'd be the worst, you know? But as it's regenerating health, it actually works quite well because you don't have to think about that. You're thinking more about the action rather than, am I trying to survive? But I think for games like Doom and Wolfenstein, where it's single player, you know, you can't, like, putting in the whole, am I going to die health aspect thing. I think that's a good thing, you know? It sort of works out
Right.
because it's a part of the single player game.
And you kind of touched on, I think, something we should talk about, where you have games like Doom, and then you have games like Battleborn and Overwatch, and like your Battlefields and your Call of Duties. They're all first person shooters, but they're slightly different. Like,
Yeah.
are they different enough to make the market not feel saturated by first person shooters? I mean, I don't know.
Vhero, what do you think of this?
I think they might. It does seem like it is looking a bit saturated because, especially when people are comparing Battleborn to Overwatch and the other one by Epic Games. I keep forgetting the name of that one. Is it by Epic Games? There's another one that's coming out. They're comparing it to.
Lawbreakers. You're talking about.
Is that Bosky?
Cliff Blazinski's. Yeah, Bosky.
Cliff Blazinski.
Yeah. But that's why. Yeah. But they're all getting compared to each other, even though they are different games, because one's more like a MOBA and one's more like Team Fortress 2. I've been made aware of recently. So they are very different games, but they have got similar elements. So, and because they're first-person shooters, they are getting compared a lot. But it is looking like it is looking oversaturated. But they are different games at heart. So it's very difficult to say.
Yeah, it's tough to say at this point. But like just looking at the market, I think this year is probably the most refreshing year that I've seen in a while. Like, which sort of goes, like, I sort of disagree a little bit, but like just looking at Battlefield 5, just in terms of setting and art styles so far, like I don't know how they obviously play. I could be totally wrong. These could all just be the same games with different skins on for all I know, you know? But like looking at Battlefield 5, which is set in World War One, that's crazy. Like that's insane, like in this day and age. Call of Duty is set in future almost, but still with bullets. Battleborn and Overwatch are very different games. I've played them both. Overwatch is very sort of Disney, but it's at heart it's very much like a 90s style FPS. Like if you're a Doom fan, you should check out Overwatch because Jesus, it is really it feels good compared to like an old 90s game. And
we've got
Battleborn
Gears
is
this
very
year
much
as well.
like mobile. And we got Gears, yeah. There's a lot of variety of games this year, and I think that's really healthy. You know, it's really cool that we're seeing this because it sort of feels like over the last 10 years we've gotten so many like near future or modern warfare games that that is getting overdone, and not just by like the same companies. It's by multiple companies. You know, like it just. I'm happy to see the change.
Yeah, and actually, I think we talked about this pre-show a bit, where I think it's kind of cool that Call of Duty and Battlefield are going separate ways.
Definitely. I think that's really cool. Like, when Battlefield 4 came out, and I can't remember what game came out. It might have been, like, Black Ops 2 or Advanced Warfare. And I think Ghost came out the same year as Battlefield 4. And it was just like, oh, God, these are pretty much the same games,
right.
You know? And there was a couple of other games that came out as well, like, from different studios. And they're all, like, similar sort of almost like near future warfare sort of thing. It's like, oh God, it's like everyone was doing it. And it's really nice to see that they've sort of responded to that.
Right.
And just everyone's going their separate ways.
So although I don't play these games, I do agree with you that I find this year refreshing to see them try to do their own thing, try to separate themselves a bit. Because I think maybe they both kind of looked at each other and said, like, we need to find a way to show people that we are different. Like, don't confuse Battlefield with Call of Duty. Let's, try to make a name for ourselves other than like modern military shooter. But
yeah, saying that, like, what like FPS is missing from the market? Do you think? Like, you as a single player dude, like, I know you're looking forward to a few games this year, like Doom. But is there any like, if you could get an FPS back, or if you could, like, if there's a certain FPS which you would want to play, what would it be?
Me?
Yeah.
I would say, okay, I'm a massive like horror game fan, survival horror. one series that totally blew me out of the water. Wasn't expecting to like them. Missed out on the series like the first couple years it was out. Is the Metro series.
Okay.
Most specifically, Metro Last Light, which is the second game. That game is a first-person shooter, but it's a first-person shooter and it's survival horror in a lot of respects, where bullets are very rare, and that's the currency in the game. You trade bullets for bullets, and you have to be careful how many you use, similar to, like green herbs, or I know you say herbs. Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Bothers one of my friends.
Most people listening are Americans,
Yeah,
so it's all good.
Yeah, you have to watch how much health you have. When you go to the surface, you actually have to change your mask canisters, your oxygen canisters, and there is this element of tension, and also going through corridors. You have a flashlight. Enemies pop out from nowhere, scare the hell out of you. I really like that combination of survival horror and first-person shooting, and I don't know what other games do it well. I mean, I guess you could say BioShock is a bit kind of horror, but it's not. There's not that survival aspect of it where you have to watch your resources or else you'll be screwed. I would love to see a new Metro game. Really would.
Well, there was a few games called what were they called? Marcus Beer worked on them as a PR dude. Fear, that was it.
Oh, Fear.
1, 2, and 3.
I did play one of those games. Yeah, it did have that element of it, but it was more jump scares.
Yeah, they didn't really resonate with me, but yeah, as you said, I think it was like jump scares more than anything else. But
I really like when I talk about survival horror. One of my favorite parts of survival horror is the tension, and I don't think Fear really had that, because at the end of the day, it just was. It was a loud shooter masked with a bit of like ghosts and jump scares and stuff like that.
Not fair play. How about you, Vhero? Is there any like FPS games which are missing from the market for you?
I think we're due a new BioShock. I know Ken Levine's left 2K now, so he's obviously not going to do one. But I think 2K still they own that franchise now, don't they? So they could do one without him.
I'm pretty sure BioShock is in production somewhere. It's got to be.
It's got to be. I mean, I absolutely loved the last one. It wasn't the most popular one with a lot of people, but I wasn't so keen on the second one, but I loved the third one, so I'm hoping for a new one.
I agree with you. I think we've talked about this before as well, but Infinite got a lot of backlash like a couple months after it came out, after like everyone completely praised that game up and down when it first came out. I really liked Infinite as well. I thought the shooting was good. A lot of people complained that the shooting was bad in that game. I wholly disagree. I agree with you that
mechanically the game was great. Yeah. Like the only problem I had with that game was the story. I think I figured it out too early.
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah, that does suck.
That's my only personal thing. But like other than that, like the game felt great. Like traversing, like jumping around on them wires and stuff, like flying around the map and like jumping back down, smacking them. It was great. It was a great game.
Yeah, and it offered something new rather than being under the water. It was a bit of a refreshing change for the BioShock series, because the second one felt more like an expansion for the first one in a little bit of a sense.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way about just going off topic with FPSs, but Assassin's Creed Brotherhood sort of felt like that. It was just like, this is just 2.0. It's not like anything different. It's the exact same thing. It just feels like an expansion pack, and that's sort of a problem with franchises that do that. Where they're constantly changing settings, but then if they stick to one setting one time, it's like, okay, it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. But I suppose it's a bit different with BioShock. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like this year with just the amount of different types of FPSs that are coming out. I'm actually really excited to see what this does for the future. Like it's setting stuff up for the future to tell people, it's okay to experiment. It's okay to try out different settings and stuff. Like I'm really, really proud of the fact that DICE have grown a pair of balls and just said, you know what, screw this military shooter thing, with this modern day military shooter thing. We're going to go back to World War One. I think that's awesome. Like I'm so happy that they've done that. I'm really happy that they've done that.
Well, rumor is it's more of a fantasy twist on World War One as well.
Even if it is, like I'm still happy with it. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that might be one of those things when you talk about realism. Like, is it going to be fun to, use a World War I era gun? the way it was used back then, or would you rather want the gun to load faster, stuff like that, you know?
I mean, yeah, it could get like to the point where we're playing like, I don't know, Call of Duty Revolution, and we're fucking firing muskets off at Bunker Hill, you know? Like, it could get really bad.
Yeah, press A to, you know, drop a bullet in your gun and like shove it down or whatever the hell they did, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the tagline of the game is like, make every bullet count.
Yeah.
It's just like really bad. I'd play that game though. Like, I really would. I don't even know why.
Well, I'd play it.
Like, what?
I might only play it for a minute before I put the controller down, but I'd still try it at least.
Yeah. Yeah, the only FPS game which I would really want to see is just like, I'd like to see like a Stone Age sort of game where it's just like bow and arrows only and spears, you know? No swords or anything, just bow and arrows and spears.
So like,
that'd be really interesting.
Like Far Cry Primal?
Kind of, but online and like shooting each other.
Oh, okay.
Just like arrows going everywhere, zipping past you. That'd be really funny.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Like really ridiculous attachments, like an iron sight which is made out of stone or whatever, you know? It could be absolutely anything.
Sure.
But I don't know. It'd be cool to see someone experiment with that.
If I had to pick a dream game, though, it'd definitely be a new Time Splitters.
See, I never got around to those games on the PlayStation 2. I don't know why. They were all... I remember when the first one came out, everyone was talking about them. I completely missed out.
Absolutely amazing. I used to play every weekend. I used to have a multi-tap for my PlayStation. Used to invite a couple of friends round, me, the wife, and 2 friends every weekend. Used to play Time Splitters on just 4-player competitive. Just played that every single night. It was amazing.
Yeah, I remember playing the original. What were we playing? Halo 2 or Halo 3? We used to have LAN parties. Basically, we used to set up like 4 TVs like facing away from each other, and then we had 2 sofas in the house which we sort of faced away from each other, and it was just like piled on with people, like 12 guys like sat around this thing with beers, you know, just like hitting each other and stuff like every time we got a kill. And because like you had to physically turn around to screen stare and stuff, like people couldn't cheat. So I really miss them nights. That's like, I should have said that in the last section, but that's why multiplayer games, like them moments,
sure,
they're really cool.
I respect that from multiplayer moments. Yeah, definitely.
Good times. LAN parties. God, we need to do that again. Yeah, we need to move on anyway. We're coming up to the end of the podcast, and with that, I want to give out our content call-outs, where we call out content from Sifted.net, which people might have missed or they might have seen, but we wanted to give them a bit of a thumbs up either way. And we'll start off with you, Vhero. What is your content call-out of the week?
My content call-out of the week was the Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 debut trailer. I was extremely excited about this game, as my second favourite genre is strategy games, and so I'm really excited about this game. I loved the first one. The second one didn't resonate too much with me, but I'm excited where they go with this one now, so looking forward to it. It's a really good trailer.
No, it is a beautiful trailer. Like, watching it, I was just like gobsmacked by the production value on it. It's just like, whoa, okay, that's how you announce a game. You know, that's a good one.
Actually, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War was the last RTS that I've ever played, and when I was a kid, I used to paint 40k figures.
You were one of them guys, were you?
Yeah, I never even played the game, like the actual game. I just collected the figures and painted them, Blood Angels, all the way.
Fair enough. How about you, Evan? What is your content call out of the week?
I'm going to cheat a bit. My content call out of the week is anything Dishonored 2. And what I mean by that is since the teaser from last E3 came out, we've seen nothing of this game. Almost to the point where I think people are wondering if it was even coming out this year. But luckily, it is the new cover of Game Informer. The new Game Informer cover is Dishonored 2. So they're going to be rolling out content all this month about the game. So just type in Dishonored 2 in the search in Sifted and scroll away. That stuff should be rolling out this whole month. So if you're a Dishonored fan like I am, get yourself educated. I immediately regret saying that.
No, it's worthy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, Bethesda. Okay. That's the only thing I don't like about Bethesda is like their whole pre-E3 announcements. You know.
Yeah.
Especially when they got a conference. You got a conference coming up, boys. You could show so much. Anyway, I could rag on about that.
I kind of want to wait for the conference because I don't want to see any gameplay of this game until the conference. So while I'm saying
maybe you won't.
While I'm saying,
maybe you'll just see like cutscenes and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like there might be like it might be all story, like screenshots or whatever.
I hope so. Like leading up to E3.
Same.
So while I'm saying like,
I hope they leave some surprises.
Yeah, well, like soak in the Dishonored 2 content, but yeah, I'm gonna stay away from the actual gameplay. I want to see that at E3. But yeah. So Vin, how about you? What's your call out of the week?
This week, I want to call out the Uncharted 4 credits include a heartfelt moment and thanks to Amy Hennig. That's the full title of the article. But I wanted to just say how cool this was. You know, like how cool it is that Naughty Dog, even though Naughty Dog and Amy Hennig obviously departed last year or the year before, can't remember. It's like halfway through Uncharted 3, but they sort of recognized like how much of a massive sort of influence she was on the series, and in the credits of Uncharted 4, they actually give her a massive shout out. I can't remember exactly what the message say, but it's very touching. It's very nice, but. Yeah, it's nice when game studios are nice people, you know? Like, we hear so much hate about game studios these days. Like, I wanted to give a shout out to a game studio when they do nice things. So
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, you'll definitely be hearing about Uncharted 4 next week, because obviously it's coming out, and Evan doesn't have a PS4, so he'll be crying a little bit.
God damn it. It sucks.
Apologise in advance, good. Yeah.
Hey, I'll be playing Uncharted 4 Neo, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
There we go.
Burn.
Yeah. In this section, we'll just basically give our Twitter handle, any goodbyes you've got, any last call-outs you've got to any external sites or whatever, you know. So I'll start off with you, Vhero. What is your Twitter handle and your goodbye sign-off?
My Twitter handle is @Vhero, and I'd just like to throw in a mention. If anybody wants to know, I'm actually running a gaming marathon around E3 time.
Cool.
It's going to be all in aid of cancer research. It's going to be a 24-hour gaming. It's going to be a 24-hour gaming marathon. I'm going to be hopefully live streaming it from my PlayStation because I've got a camera. So I'll be doing it with my brother. Hopefully, if he manages to stay awake for that long, I'll be stopping. I'll be stopping for food and toilet breaks, so it may run on a little bit longer than 24 hours. So yeah, it's all in aid of a good cause. I'll be posting details on Sifted soon as I actually nail down a date, because I've got that entire week off. I booked it off for E3 and Star Ocean, which annoys the crap out of me because that game got delayed by 3 weeks.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that was really annoying.
They were probably debating if they can retitle it.
Yeah.
Because of that subtitle.
Hey,
man.
take as much time as you want. Just get that subtitle the hell out of that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so
what is it called? Integrity and faithlessness.
Integrity and faithlessness, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll hopefully doing it that week. Once I've nailed down a date, I'll be putting details on Sifted, so if anybody wants to donate, they can do. This is not me begging, this is just me letting people know.
No, he's begging. Give him money.
No, sure.
No, this is cool. That's really cool, man.
Anyway,
Like
cancer research, I'll be doing it for. So.
I mean, I won't be there for the full 24 hours, but I'll definitely pop in and watch it. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So, hit up Vhero on Twitter. I'm sure he'll be giving shouts out to that event on there as well. That'll be really cool, man. How about you, Evan? What is your Twitter handle?
Sorry, you can find me at The Stand User on Sifted, Giant Bomb, and Twitter.
Cool. Short tweet. Yep. You can find me on Twitter at VinHillArt. You can find some of my finger paintings on there from time to time. And me rambling on about the games industry and complaining about Japan, as I do. You can also find me on sifted.net, as always, which is VinHill. But yeah, if you want to be on the podcast like Vhero has been today, all you have to do is message Evan on the site, which is at the stand user. So you can find him on Sifted. To send him a message, let him know what microphone you've got and when you're available. We'll try and get you on the show. I think we've got about a month waiting list at the minute, but the sooner you get your name in there, the quicker you'll be on the show. So it's first come, first serve, as always. So thanks a lot for coming on the show, Vhero. We really appreciate it, man.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, man, it's cool. But not everyone, from everyone here on Podcast Reload, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube, comment, like, whatever. Share it with your friends if you want to. Like, if you think it's good enough. We don't think it's good enough yet, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Everyone here, thank you very much. We'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Sayonara.
Bye-bye.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Not that random.
That was Dyson XP last week. I couldn't believe it. It was great.